Right now, at this stage of your life, an invisible drain may be operating in your quietest daily moments without your conscious permission. You might feel a subtle, unexplainable fatigue at the end of an ordinary afternoon, assuming it is simply the natural progression of aging or the weight of a long career behind you. Yet behavioral patterns suggest something far more specific is taking place beneath the surface of your personal life. Most men over 60 are conditioned to believe that having a companion in their later years is an absolute, unquestionable net positive for their health and emotional well-being. Because this belief is so deeply woven into our social fabric, you end up overlooking the quiet friction and constant micro-adjustments that modern dating and late-life cohabitation demand from you daily. What if the very dynamic you were taught would protect you is actually the hidden mechanism eroding your vitality? There is a single, invisible tax that late-life relationships extract from a man over 60, one that quietly degrades his physical health long before it ever touches his wealth. By the end of this video, you will clearly see the 5 quiet mechanisms of late-life relationships that compromise your health, wealth, and freedom, and how staying intentionally single restores your full autonomy. You might assume a companion naturally adds years to your life, but your nervous system after 60 keeps a far more precise accounting. As the male body matures, baseline cortisol regulation undergoes a subtle shift, meaning your physiology takes significantly longer to return to a state of calm after experiencing minor, repeated social friction. Psychologists often refer to this internal cumulative weight as allostatic load, the physiological wear and tear that results from chronic, low-level stress exposure over extended periods of time. When you share your intimate space with someone past 60, you are rarely dealing with dramatic, shouting arguments. Instead, you are navigating an ongoing stream of microscopic compromises, nonverbal evaluations, and atmospheric adjustments. You find yourself subtly shifting your posture, holding back a candid thought, or adjusting your evening schedule simply to maintain domestic harmony in the room. This constant state of low-grade vigilance keeps your sympathetic nervous system mildly activated throughout the afternoon and evening. Over months and years, this sustained tension interferes with deep restorative sleep cycles, elevating evening blood pressure levels and slowly draining your daily physical energy reserves. Of course, context always matters here, and occasional companionship does not automatically damage your health. But when a relationship requires continuous emotional management, the quiet physiological price you pay accumulates without your explicit consent. Now, you might be thinking that a strong man should easily handle these minor domestic adjustments without feeling any physical strain. The reality is that your biological system at this age craves predictability and quiet equilibrium far more than it craves constant interpersonal negotiation. When you ignore this fundamental biological need, you misinterpret your body's signals as natural physical decline rather than recognizing them as environmental depletion. Most men make the mistake of pushing through this internal exhaustion, adding supplements or extra coffee to their routine while ignoring the emotional drain right in front of them. Think back to a past relationship where you felt inexplicably drained at the end of an evening that was supposed to be relaxing and pleasant. You walked away assuming you were just tired, missing the subtle tax your body had just paid. While your physical energy pays the daily quiet price, your accumulated lifetime capital faces an entirely different kind of passive exposure. Financial risk in your 60s rarely looks like a dramatic courtroom split. It looks like a slow, agreeable leak in your retirement blueprint. When you enter a late-life partnership, you are not establishing a fresh financial baseline together like 2 young people in their 20s building an initial career foundation. You are bringing a lifetime of accumulated wealth, carefully structured assets, and established family legacies into proximity with another person's existing financial history. In behavioral economics, this dynamic often triggers what researchers call indirect capital dilution, the subtle, non-explicit transfer of personal resources through lifestyle inflation, shared maintenance costs, and unspoken obligations. You might find yourself upgrading your travel arrangements, modifying your home layout, or frequenting more expensive dining establishments simply to match the lifestyle expectations of a new partner. Over a period of several years, these small, agreeable expenses slowly erode the discretionary buffer of your liquid retirement savings. Furthermore, legal landscapes regarding cohabitation and common law status have shifted dramatically across many jurisdictions, meaning that simply sharing a residence for a designated time can create unexpected legal claims on your estate. Even if you utilize formal prenuptial agreements or explicit legal contracts, the social and emotional pressure to assist a partner's adult children or cover unforeseen medical expenses often overrides your original financial boundaries. Consider a scenario where a partner asks for a modest loan to assist a family member, assuring you it is temporary, yet creating a complex dynamic where asking for repayment feels uncomfortable. One instance of shared generosity means little, but an ongoing pattern of financial blurring completely restructures your long-term estate security. The common mistake most men make is assuming that financial protection is purely a matter of legal documents, underestimating the powerful emotional leverage that romantic intimacy exerts over practical decision-making. You tell yourself that you are simply being generous while quietly watching your long-term retirement runway narrow year by year. Yet, even if your wealth remains completely protected behind legal walls, an even more non-renewable asset begins slipping away unnoticed. There is a profound, forgotten luxury in waking up without having to match anyone else's emotional temperature or daily agenda. As a mature man, your time is no longer a currency to be traded for future promises or professional advancement. It is the absolute core of your remaining earthly existence. Gerontological studies frequently highlight the psychological importance of temporal autonomy, the unconstrained ability to control one's daily schedule, personal space, and immediate environment without external justification. When you live alone past 60, your home becomes an absolute sanctuary where every object, every silence, and every minute belongs entirely to your own discretion. You choose precisely when to drink your morning coffee, how long to read in total silence, and whether to spend an entire afternoon immersed in a personal project. The moment you introduce a full-time partner into your living space, that absolute sovereignty transforms into a continuous, unspoken negotiation. You begin checking in before leaving the house, modifying your meal times, and absorbing the emotional residue of another person's mood swings or personal anxieties. Even in the most harmonious late-life relationships, the simple presence of another human being requires a continuous baseline level of social awareness and consideration. You might find yourself agreeing to attend social gatherings, family dinners, or weekend trips that you have zero genuine desire to participate in, simply to avoid causing disappointment. Of course, context matters, and sharing an occasional weekend outing can be deeply enjoyable when it remains completely voluntary. However, when those temporary shared moments turn into a permanent structural expectation, your personal solitude is quietly replaced by ongoing coordination. You might wonder if preferring total control over your schedule is selfish or isolated, but psychology confirms that genuine peace for older men is deeply tied to environmental predictability. The common mistake is trading away this priceless daily calm for the simple fear of quiet evenings, failing to realize how deeply invigorating true solitary freedom actually is. Think back to a morning where you sat in complete stillness, answering to no one, and remember the quiet strength that state of mind provided. Remember what I told you at the start, that there was one signal most men not only miss, but actively misread. We are getting close to it now. This brings us back to our central question about what really degrades your vitality, because the heaviest burden a man can take on late in life isn't physical labor at all. When a woman enters your life past 60, she brings a fully written history, and along with it, an implicit expectation of where you fit into her story. In late-stage relationship psychology, researchers often identify an asymmetric shift in emotional expectations, where men are predominantly sought out to provide stability, security, and emotional grounding. After decades of navigating life's complexities, raising children, or managing past divorces, many women in this demographic carry substantial emotional baggage and unresolved family dynamics. As the man in this picture, you are frequently cast in the role of the steady financial anchor and the patient emotional buffer. You become the sounding board for her ongoing anxieties, her complicated relationships with her adult children, or her medical concerns, while your own need for quiet simplicity takes a backseat. This creates what sociologists call high-voltage emotional caretaking, a pattern where a man spends his remaining high-energy years absorbing and resolving complex interpersonal problems that he did not create. She may non-verbally look to you to solve financial stress, manage domestic repairs, or provide constant reassurance while offering relatively little reciprocal peace in return. Consider how subtle this dynamic can be in everyday life. She receives a distressing phone call from an adult child at dinner, and suddenly your peaceful evening is consumed by 2 hours of managing her emotional distress. You find yourself offering rational solutions, attempting to fix a situation you have no authority over, while your own nervous system absorbs the ambient conflict. Now, you might object that supporting a partner through tough times is simply what a good, honorable man is supposed to do. While loyalty is admirable, there is a profound difference between mutual support and becoming a passive shock absorber for an unending cycle of external family drama. One evening of shared comfort means little, but an ongoing expectation that you must regulate her emotional state will systematically erode your remaining vigor. Most mature men fall into this trap because their protective instincts are easily triggered, mistaking a woman's ongoing emotional neediness for true romantic vulnerability. They sacrifice their hard-earned peace to fix problems that belong entirely to someone else's past, which leads to the final, most critically overlooked reason to stay single, the one that sits at the absolute core of your personal identity. The most powerful version of your remaining decades isn't found in compromising for company. It's found in fully reclaiming yourself. When you reach 60 and beyond, society subtly encourages you to settle into a comfortable, quiet routine of domestic compliance and shared companionship. Yet, developmental psychology demonstrates that late adulthood is actually the prime window for true self-sovereignty, the complete alignment of your daily actions with your uncorrupted personal purpose. When you remain intentionally single, you liberate your creative energy, your financial resources, and your time to focus entirely on what truly matters to you. You can travel on a moment's notice, master a complex new skill, build a lasting legacy for your grandchildren, or cultivate deep, non-demanding friendships with other mature men. You no longer have to explain your priorities, defend your artistic or intellectual interests, or modify your legacy goals to accommodate someone else's preferences. Consider the quiet strength of a man who stands completely firm in his own space, whose home is a sanctuary of order, and whose mind is untroubled by daily domestic friction. He does not seek external validation or feminine approval to feel complete, because his sense of worth comes from internal clarity and uncompromised autonomy. This is not a life of bitter isolation. It is a life of highly deliberate, elevated independence where you choose exactly who enters your world and on what terms. The biggest mistake men make late in life is viewing singlehood as an empty waiting room rather than recognizing it as the ultimate luxury of absolute personal freedom. When you view your life through this lens, staying single stops looking like a retreat and begins looking like your greatest victory. When you examine these 5 elements together, protecting your physical health from chronic microstress, safeguarding your lifetime wealth, preserving your temporal autonomy, avoiding asymmetric caretaking, and stepping fully into self-sovereignty. A single unified principle emerges clearly. True quality of life past 60 is not measured by whether you have a partner occupying the other side of your living room, but by the absolute quality of peace, vitality, and freedom you experience every single day. A mature man does not need to fear solitude or overanalyze every social interaction to maintain his independence. He simply needs to recognize that his peace is a non-negotiable asset. By choosing intentional singlehood, you are not closing yourself off from human warmth, but rather choosing to engage with the world strictly on terms that preserve your health and honor your lifetime of hard work. You now possess the clarity to evaluate late-life relationship offers with absolute objectivity, prioritizing your sovereignty above societal expectations or temporary fear of quietness. Have you noticed how your peace of mind and physical energy shift when you control your own daily space completely? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you value this quiet, grounded perspective on navigating maturity with strength, subscribe to join our growing community of like-minded men. Before you consider letting anyone into your personal or financial space, watch our next video on the 3 non-negotiable psychological screens every man over 60 must use.